All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the first edition of the SPJ Chapter Strong Leadership Series. We're so happy to see all of you here today, and we're hoping that you all get a lot out of what we're able to share as leaders. And hopefully this is something that will continue to be helpful to all of our chapters and all of our communities as we start to look at how we can grow past this pandemic as we're kind of exiting, hopefully, cross your fingers, as we're exiting this pandemic. So I do want to introduce our panelists for today. First, my name is Ashanti Blaize-Hopkins. I am the president of SPJ Los Angeles. I would like to introduce Adam Sennott, who is the president of SPJ New England, Eddie Gallagher, who is the president of the Fort Worth SPJ chapter, and then Claire Regan will be joining us soon, who is the president-elect of SPJ National, in addition to on the board of both the New York and the New Jersey SPJ chapters. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I would love to start by talking a little bit about how we look at membership as chapters, and all of us kind of do some different things. And so, Eddie, I would love to kind of start with you. I know that we spoke a little earlier about some of the events that SPJ Fort Worth has been able to do pre-COVID and then also during COVID. So can we start a little bit about talking about some of the pre-pandemic gatherings that you had and how you kind of shifted with the pandemic and what you're doing now?
Okay. For our main members, what we've done is before the pandemic, one of our favorite things to do was to have meetings at one of the favorite restaurants in Fort Worth that's been in business since the 30s. And it's a Mexican restaurant. And in fact, celebrities, when they come to town, always go there. It's called Joe T. Garcia's. And it started out as a one-room shack, and it's grown like tremendously. And we have meetings there, and it's one that newcomers love and visitors love. And so it gets our people who are retired coming, and they enjoy it, and the younger active members enjoy it, and the middle-aged members enjoy it. And we bring in speakers, and we've had politicians there. We had a panel right about the time of one of the Kennedy assassination times. We had some of our local reporters and members who covered the assassination come and speak. We had someone from the FBI talk to us. We've had programs on issues that have been happening with the area colleges and their problems with the administration. And we asked both students and our members to come. And we have visitors that come that aren't members and soon become members. And so that was always fun. And so then during the pandemic, we had to shift to Zoom. And so we did that. But we also do training sessions, and we try to do those on weekends and then sometimes during the summer. And we open those up to everyone. And it's not only just our members, but we send it out to all of the local media so people can come, and we invite students. We invite students to everything because we believe in starting them young. And one of the things that we do every year specifically for students, but sometimes younger professionals come, is a career conference. And we bring in professionals in different fields. And we start out with a panel of young people who have only been in the field for about no more than 5 years. And they talk about how they got started and what they did and what they think helped them get their jobs. And then we break up into roundtable discussions. And we did that. We normally have a pretty good mix from the colleges around Fort Worth and Dallas area, and a little bit in the outer areas, smaller towns around. Then we went to Zoom. This year, however, in Texas, we have what's called the Texas Intercollegiate Press Association. And the majority of the colleges, universities, 2-year schools, 4-year schools with media are members. And once a year, they get together for a conference. And this year's next week is going to be in Fort Worth, and we're going to do that portion there. And so we're going to go there, and we're going to have a roundtable discussion there. Rebecca and I are going to be participating. And we're going to have professionals come in where they and have a roundtable session for 3 hours. And students can come in and talk to them. And we have a couple of people who are looking for people to hire. And then we also are going to be doing resume and portfolio advice for them. We're going to look over their portfolios and resumes and help
Listen,
them.
I feel like your chapter is so busy in the best possible way. So we have training sessions, we have mixers, we have, career conference days. That's amazing. I want to kind of go back to the idea of programming. And Adam, I would love for you to weigh in on this, because I think that your chapter does a really great job of doing these amazing Zoom panels. And obviously that's kind of where we've been living in for the last 2 years, right? So talk to me a little bit about, how those kind of came about during the pandemic, and what modes do you use in order to make sure that your members are aware of what's going on, and even people outside of your membership.
So when the opportunity to use Zoom has definitely been a huge boon for our chapter. Before the pandemic, we like a lot of other chapters, we were doing in-person events when we could, and those are, as everybody knows, really tough to plan. And we had a couple of events we were planning, and then the pandemic hit, and of course it derailed us like it did everybody else. And then SPJ National gave us access to their Zoom account. And I was talking to my board, and I was like, all right, everyone, let's aim really high for our speakers. Let's try to get people we would never be able to get, otherwise, because everyone's stuck at home and they can't say no to us right now. So one of our first, and it's great to get the local journalists on there too, but we wanted to try to get people that would normally speak at conferences and stuff. So one of our first speakers was Seymour Hersh, the legendary investigative journalist for the New York Times and for the New Yorker. And so once we got him, we were like, we can probably get anyone at this point. So we reached out. We had Don Lemon at one point. We just had Bob Woodward. We had Marty Barron, Soledad O'Brien. So what we usually do is we book them, and then we try to, we use Twitter, we use Facebook, we use LinkedIn sometimes to try to get the word out and to try to get as many people to show up as possible. And one of the things that we didn't have before the pandemic was we didn't have a YouTube page. Which I was like, well, we're going to record all of these events so that people can watch them later. And our Seymour Hersh event, so we recorded it, was the first video that we posted, and it's got over 800 views now, which is terrific. So even if you don't get a lot of people to attend those events, people will watch them afterwards, and it'll be great for your chapter. So aim high with these. You can get anyone. So thank you to SPJ National for giving us that Zoom account.
I think it's such an important thing to kind of emphasize, to take what has been a very difficult situation and kind of, make those lemons into lemonade, right?
Sure.
Claire, I see that you are here, and I want to kind of get your take on what your particular boards do when it comes to programming, when it comes to outreach to not only your members, but potential members of both the New York and the New Jersey chapter.
Yeah, I'm proud to say I serve on both boards. I was president of the Deadline New York City Club for 3 years, and we are really good at being mixer hosts. we throw these mixers and we attract nice crowds. We're having one next week, actually. There's one on the 24th. We have one of our board members, the position is really specifically assigned to planning these get-togethers, Vice President for Membership, Polly. I believe she's here tonight. Hi, Polly. And she does a great job of scoping out, in New York City, there's no shortage of hotels and hotel lounges and with indoor, outdoor spaces. So we've been able to pull off, sort of post-pandemic, we're pulling one off next week, but they're very attractive to people because they're casual. We often don't charge, or if we do charge a minimal fee, then you get a free drink, and attracts people of all ages, members, non-members. We've co-sponsored with the New York City chapter of NABJ, NAHJ, which is great collaboration, and we kind of share members and prospective members. So I recommend mixers. People like them because they're sort of non-committal. and they're good networking opportunities for all professional levels.
Claire, I kind of want to dig a little deeper into the collaboration part of it. You know, I know with SPJ that has been, you know, integral for us to be able to get additional memberships or additional eyes on what we're doing. Can you talk a little bit more about the importance of collaborating with other organizations that are in your area?
Yeah, in New York City, we do have some competing journalism organizations, you know, that would be considered competition in a way, because we're all, you know, competing for the same kind of members. But to get together for an event sort of eases that competition, and you're sort of, there's some solidarity, which is, it's wonderful, actually. It's a nice feeling. We've also collaborated. We have the News Women's Club of New York. We've collaborated with them. And like I said, NABJ and NHJ. And it's very rewarding, and it's good to know each other's boards too, as well. We've also collaborated with the New Jersey chapter of SPJ on some events too, on some programming. So I highly recommend collaborating with other organizations or within our own SPJ with other chapters, if that's possible.
Eddie, can you talk a little bit about how your particular chapter has kind of reached out and partnered with other different organizations, other journalism organizations? What does that look like for your particular chapter and your board?
We haven't done quite as much lately. We have in the past done things with the local Hispanic chapters, but we do more with some of the colleges. And that's where we've done a lot of our concentrations, and with the local media. For instance, right now we're working with a new, relatively new, it's in its second year, nonprofit newspaper that's called the Fort Worth Report, and with KERA, the PBS television station in Fort Worth, Dallas area, for internships. And we're co-sponsoring internships, one each for students, and those two, and one for the Fort Worth Report and one at KERA for this coming summer. And we hope to continue doing that because there just aren't enough internships, paid internships for students we're looking at. And so we're doing that. And we also do a First Amendment contest. We started that because we looked around and saw that no one was doing anything like that and concentrating on that kind of writing or production. And we have it for both print and the digital media. So we were doing that. And we were the first, I believe, to start the Spanish category as well. And
yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. You know, I think that is something that many of our chapters may not necessarily be thinking about. How do we get more Spanish television, journalists involved in our chapters and making sure that they feel like SPJ is also a place for them? So, you know, for you, I know that creating categories in your awards that are specifically Spanish language probably was huge. Can you talk about that?
Well, that did help. It brought a lot of attention in. And it did bring in several people from, I believe it was Houston. I think Rebecca can correct me if I'm wrong, but a whole category from Houston. They belong to the Houston chapter. But they came up to visit with us and were at our award ceremony. They drove up from there, which is a long drive. Those of you who do not know Texas, that is a long drive to be at the award ceremony. But it does draw in the Spanish language, and we have many more. And it did help our diversity, which was nice. And so it's something that people really should consider if that's one of the ways they want to look in. And it shows that they don't have to just look at the Hispanic organizations, that they do have another organization that is for them and is interested in them.
I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about newsletters. I know many of our chapters do push out, a newsletter in some form of consistency, whether it's monthly or every couple of weeks. Can we talk a little bit about, and Claire, I know specifically that both of your chapters push out newsletters. Eddie, I know that that's the same for Fort Worth. So can we talk a little bit about how that works for you. Who do you feel like you're targeting, and what kind of outcomes do you feel like you get, or return on your investment, if as you will, with these newsletters?
Well, I'll speak to that. I mean, I've been an SPJ member long enough, since 1995, to say that I actually was the editor and designer of a print newsletter for our chapter way back then for a good number of years. And of course, we've switched to electronic now. So we do have a really good electronic newsletter that we send out via Constant Contact. And it's really, its purpose is to announce upcoming events. And we always, are looking to expand it. We have one of our board members in the Deadline Club is assigned to that. We have a communications VP. I think it's important to have somebody who is assigned that task. And so it goes to our members of our chapter, of course, but then we have an enormous mailing list that it goes out to of hundreds. So even, non-members get the announcement about our programming. That's a really good goal for a newsletter.
Okay, Eddie, I know that you all do something very interesting with your newsletter that I am totally going to steal for SPJ-LA. But can you tell me a little bit about how you are able to generate revenue with your newsletter? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Now, we have what's called the e-chase, because it is electronic, and it's sent out every month. It includes what's happening within our chapter, and we also comment on what's happening within the local colleges, what's happening in the local media, and we tell what's happening within the individuals that, maybe the students have won awards, or someone else has done awards, or someone else is going to be doing something. So it talks about the individuals as well as the groups. And then things that are happening nationwide that might be of interest to journalists. And so we put that in there too. We have photographs of events that have been happening, so people can see what they're missing if they don't come. And so we have that. But what we do is we sell an ad, and the ad is very simple. It's basically a logo and the name of the organization or the business, maybe an address or phone number, whatever the person wants, but very small. And they pay us for the year. And it's not very much, but they add up. And it goes, and we mail these, it goes out in an email, and it goes to all of our members, and then anyone else who wants to have it, and people can sign up for it. So it goes out to, I don't remember how many, I don't keep up with that, but it goes out to several people beyond our membership.
Okay. I know newsletters is one way for outreach, but so is social media. Adam, I want you to talk a little bit about your focus on growing your chapter social media and what you think the benefits of that have been, and why you decided to focus on that as the president of SPJ New England.
Absolutely. I also just want to quickly mention one quick thing about our Zoom. We were using our Zoom account, the national Zoom account, so much that somebody actually generously donated a Zoom account to us to use, which is what we're using right now. And, and that has made everything so much easier because we don't have to compete with the SPJ national schedule. So definitely wanted to mention that. Social media is, to me, it's probably like one of the most important things you can do to grow your membership and to grow interest in your chapter, because everyone's on it. And I think for me, I was sitting around the Globe newsroom a while back, and I was looking around, and there were so many reporters in the Boston Globe where I work. I cover breaking news, but not a lot of them were SPJ members, or members of my chapter at least. And I was thinking, like, how can we connect with these people? How can we inform them about what they do? Because I don't think they were choosing not to be members. I think they just didn't know what we were doing. So I thought, if I could get all of them on to follow us on Twitter, or to follow us on Facebook, or to get on one of our social media accounts, then they're going to see our events, and they're going to see that we're doing great work. They're going to see we're putting out a scholarship. They're going to see that were promoting journalism within New England. So I just started reaching out to journalists and saying, like, will you follow us on Twitter? On Facebook, you can send people like an invite, and on LinkedIn you can as well, but on Twitter you can't, which is really kind of annoying. So what I started doing was I just started connecting with journalists on LinkedIn. So I might go on and search like Boston Globe, just Boston Globe, and then connect with any reporter I could find on the Boston Globe. And then I would send them a message saying like, hey Ashanti, any chance you could follow the SPJ New England Twitter account? I'm serving as president and trying to build our account. I hope all is well. And then a link to our Zoom. And that might sound like
from you, by the way. I did get that message from you.
Yes, there are a bunch of people here who probably did, and they're probably like, what is this? But when I started doing this, we had about 550 followers, and now we have more than 2,900. So it's a great way. It's a really important way to connect with other journalists, to let them know what you're doing, and to keep them in the loop. And also they see your logo. It's the repetition of it. It gives it credibility over time. And I also, shortly after Rebecca took over as president, I had talked to Rebecca about, Rebecca and I had talked about the possibility of starting a chapter in Puerto Rico. And so I was very successful with building up our Twitter audience. So I was like, maybe I could just reach out to some journalists in Puerto Rico and see if anybody's interested. And so I started doing that, and there was interest. And I actually met a really great journalist named Anna, who's here tonight, and she started helping out with it. And so I started connecting her with the people I was connecting with, and it sort of snowballed from there. And we are about to have a chapter in Puerto Rico thanks to LinkedIn and Anna. So it's really effective. It's a great way to connect with.
Can we just take a moment to celebrate the fact that we now have a chapter in Puerto Rico? Like, I think that's really amazing. And Anna, thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to and elated to have you here. So congratulations on your new chapter. I would love to go ahead. Did you have something else to say? Go ahead.
Just want to quickly say I dropped the link to the SPJ New England Twitter account in the chat. Please, everyone, follow us. We have great events. So
you literally were like, my album drops on May 4th. You could just go to this link. No, that's fantastic. I think there's so much about outreach that really does live in that social media space, and we as chapters have to really embrace that and figure out how are we going to use this to reach out to our members, to reach out to potential members, and then also students, right? A lot of our student members and students who don't even know that they should be members of SPJ or our chapters, right? They're on social media. So we have to meet them where they are, right? Speaking of students, I want to kind of go back to how all of your chapters are doing student outreach, whether it's through scholarships or through social media or through, mentorship or what have you. Claire, I know that your chapters have scholarships that they give out to student journalists. Can you talk a little bit about, what that looks like and how the outreach works?
Yeah, we're super proud at the Deadline Club of our scholarship program. It's been around for decades, but we've increased it over the last couple of years. We give $2,500 scholarships at our annual awards dinner. And I believe this year we're giving 6 scholarships out to graduate and undergraduate in the New York metropolitan area. And they attend our dinner in person this year, hopefully. We're counting on it. And it's just a lot of them become members, and which is a great recruiting tool. And I think it's really important to give scholarships. We use the money that we collect with we have a successful contest. We get over 600 entries in our contest, and we use that income to support the scholarships.
That's fantastic. Eddie, I know you spoke a little bit about the Career Day conference that you have at SPJ Fort Worth. Can you talk a little bit more about how you started to outreach to students and started to make that a focus of what your chapter does on a regular basis?
Well, there are a lot of things that we do, and we just decided to do that particular one to gather more students at the same time. We also do scholarships. Our First Amendment contest helps support that. We give out normally between 10 or more scholarships ranging from 1,000 to 2,000 each year. We for in the North Texas area. And we also do a lot of mentoring with students. For instance, I'm on the advisory committee for one of the colleges, local colleges. A lot of our members visit the schools and talk to classes. And a couple of us were at an event at a college last week critiquing a crisis thing that they had done. It was where they were having they faked something happening on the campus, and they had reporters and PR people divided. And so it was the two classes. And we followed them around. Well, I followed the reporters around, and someone else was watching over the PR people to see how they were doing. And then at the end, we critiqued their abilities to handle the situation, which was fun. I've done it for the last 6 years, so it's been fun doing that with them. We, as I said too, we invite them to all of our deals. We also, as I said, we do a lot of portfolio reviews. And we have done judging for different contests. I've judged for, and several of us have judged for Oklahoma's student contest, and other different things like that.
Great. Adam, I know that for you, you've kind of been spearheading this outreach from a national perspective, but I want you to talk about that, because I think it's even something that you could pare down and potentially do in our chapters and communities. So can you talk a little bit about, the student classroom visits that you've been spearheading this year?
Mm-hmm. So I'm serving as chair of the SPJ membership committee. And one of the goals that we had was to visit, to organize class visits in different states. My goal is actually to try to get one visit in each state plus Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So if any of you are interested in participating, we could use the help. But the reason why I decided to do this, and we decided to do this, was I had been reaching out to students via LinkedIn in Boston to see what their interest was in starting student chapters, because at the time we only had one student chapter at Boston University, and it wasn't very active. So to see if we could sort of get students engaged in that, and to see if they were interested in joining SPJ. And one of the responses I kept getting from students was, what is SPJ? And I started to realize, at least in the Boston area, a lot of students just don't know we exist and what we do, and they don't know anything about us. And I guess that was probably true on a national level as well, more so in some states than others. So I thought, if we just go into these classes and just educate students about SPJ and the benefits of membership, it might not get a lot of members signing up all at once, but it will get us in their heads. So when they see us later on, they will think about us and remember us. So we're still looking for people to sign up, and it's actually been, I think, I'm pretty effective. It's not all because of this, but we now have a student chapter at Emerson. Our BU chapter is doing really well. There was another school, I think, that we started a student chapter started as well. And there's a student who reached out to me from UMass Amherst, who's on this call tonight, learning how to be a successful chapter leader, who is working on starting a chapter there as well. So her name's Olivia. She's here. Any advice you guys have for her, I'm sure she'll really appreciate it. It's going to be a great chapter.
Awesome. Hi, Olivia. Thanks for joining us. SPJ-LA, we do something very, very similar. And so we're trying to get more connected with the SPJ chapters that we know already exist, right? So it's also, making sure that we're fostering that relationship and building that, making sure that they know that we're here for them too, right? I also want to kind of shift to, awards. So I know SPJ-LA, we just added 2 student category awards for the annual awards banquet that we do. is there anything that any of your chapters do with the awards banquets that you might have each year that not only celebrates students, but also celebrates professionals? And how does that work with possibly pulling in additional members that maybe didn't know what SPJ does, or didn't know what your chapter does in your particular area? So Claire, could you maybe start?
Yeah, sure. We actually reach further back beyond college to high school, and we have a student relations committee, and was very active in the last year, especially during the pandemic. We had some virtual open houses for high school students. And at our annual awards dinner, we honor a high school journalism educator. And the award is named for one of our longtime members who passed away, Bob Greenman. It's the Bob Greenman Award for journalism teacher advisors, high school. And it's really added to our awards dinner, and it's expanded our reach to high schools and to high school journalism educators who are possible members as well.
Eddie, can you talk a little bit about your awards and how you both reach out to students and then also the professionals in bringing in new members by using this mechanism of the awards?
When we have our awards banquet for the First Amendment Awards, we have our scholarship recipients there. And so we recognize each of the scholarship recipients there at that banquet. And they get to have their picture made with someone. And we have a guest speaker who normally is someone local that will draw in more people, not only members, but also people in the community that want to hear the person. And then we also have someone that we recognize as someone who has fought for freedom of the press, fought for freedom of information. And we have a special person that we recognize and bring that person in each year. And so we have those kind of recognitions. And so those special students, those 10 to 12 or however many scholarship recipients that we have that we bring in, get to meet that person and get to hear all of that too. And so we sort of combine all of that into one.
Ashanti?
Yes.
I'm just following up. I think journalism educators, that's a big untapped resource and untapped group of people. I know, I teach journalism, and I'm always looking for resources and connections. And I think that's a good aim for our chapters to start more outreach to journalism educators, college and high school.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure.
Adam, do you want to share a little bit about what your particular chapter does when it comes to, outreach for students, awards, all of those things?
So we don't do awards right now. We want to. It's something we're aspiring to. The Deadline Club and your chapters do a fantastic job of it. So fingers crossed we'll be able to do that in the future. But we do offer a scholarship. We actually traditionally we usually give out a $500 and a $200 scholarship, which isn't much, but we were able to boost that up this year to $1,000. $1,000 and $500. Those are our two. And we've also been giving out free membership to not just the recipients, but to the applicants as well. I think we only had like 6 applicants this year, but it's growing. It's an improvement over the year before. Yeah, it's a great way to help students and to help them as they're moving towards their careers, and also to get them involved in SPJ. We also named our scholarship after one of our former board members who recently passed away a few years ago. His name is Bill Marcus. He was a great board member, a great journalist, and we miss him. So we're happy to do that.
That's great. Just to share a little bit about kind of what LA does, because I've been putting you guys on the spot for for the last 40 minutes. One of the things that we did pre-pandemic, and we're so excited to potentially be bringing it back, is we would do this thing called a mega mixer. And so we would partner with every single journalism organization in Southern California and basically throw a big party where we would invite everyone. We would usually have some entertainment. There is a band, an anchor that works at the NPR radio station here. She formed a band, so sometimes we'll hire her and she'll perform. And so it's something that, I think a lot of the organizations would look forward to on a regular basis, just to get together and not really feel like we were competing, and just figure out how we can celebrate the fact that we're all journalists, we all have similar missions, and we all want to have fun, right? And so we would do that often, and I think we missed that a lot during the pandemic. We tried to do it via Zoom once at the beginning of the pandemic, and as you can imagine, doing it via Zoom is pretty horrendous. Because how do you network with folks when there's 50 people in the room, right? And so we're very happy to be able to get back to that. The other thing I would say too that we do as far as membership, we also put together a monthly newsletter that we send out. And although we have about 150 members right now, our mailing list is about 1,500. So we're sending that out to 1,500 people on a regular basis. And I think that, with what we have been doing, and that's what we try to really do in our newsletter, is explain, here are all of the things that we're doing to advocate for you as journalists. So with our SB 98 work, or if we are signing on an amicus brief, or if we are sending out a statement, we make sure that we include that with the links that go to our website, so people can see exactly what it is we're doing for them, and what the value of them paying the $20 to join our chapter. This is what you're getting out of it, right? It's not just the events that we do, but it's also the advocacy that we can do on your behalf. And so I think that's so important. I love that all of our chapters have found a way to do what works for our areas, but I love that we're also together and we're able to learn from each other, and steal ideas, right? And borrow ideas, so that we can use that information and send it out to everyone.
That's fantastic.
One question that I have for all of you, when we're thinking about our chapter websites, how do you see that as a tool to increase your membership? Is it something that you use often? Is it something that you use passively? Is it something that you would like to learn how to use more of? I would love to start with Adam, and then we can kind of go to Eddie and then Claire.
So SPJ New England has not been the best at updating our website, unfortunately. But we've been more focusing on social media, but we'd like to do that. I'd like to get a board member to focus on that. That would be really good. One thing too, I just want to quickly mention about students and stuff like that. One of the things I've been promoting with our student members a lot is like showing them the opportunity for the Student Leadership Academy. It's a great way for students to network and connect. So I've been sending that to all of our student chapters, and also our pro members, the Future Leaders Academy, which SPJ started doing recently. I've been bothering our student and pro members about applying to those two things. So that's another sort of benefit I try to give to our members, but that's totally off subject, so I apologize.
Okay. Claire, question about website. How do your chapters use the website? Do you feel like you're using it effectively? Anything that you can share?
Yes, I'm so happy to talk about our website because we just recently redesigned it. I just put the link in the chat, and I think it really, it's bright, engaging, and we're very proud of it. We spent months redesigning it. We engaged a Fordham University student graphic designer to work with us in a little paid position, and he sort of took us through the whole process. We had a committee, and I think it's really, I'm just looking at it on my other screen. It's just, I think it's very welcoming. I think it's important to have a really welcoming website with great photography. We promote our events on there. We keep them updated. We have the history of our club, recognition, our different honors and awards, a little bit about our leadership. We've got testimonials, which I think engages potential members, and when they read what people get out of belonging to the club. So yeah, I think going outside and getting help with the website is important. It's worth the investment.
Yeah. Eddie.
Ours is about to go into another reconstruction. A few years ago when I was president the first time, I had one of my assistants, because I was media director at college, help set it up, and she did a fantastic job. And since then, they'll call on her a few times, and through the times we've set things up and we've worked on things, and then someone else will go in and do something and ruin it. And then they'll call me and they'll say, Eddie, will you do such and such? And I'll go in and I'll say, no, because you've done something that I can't do anymore. So they'll go back and I'll call Stacy and she'll fix it back and we'll get it going again. And so I think they're probably hoping that they finally hire her to get it done right and let her keep it and let her do it. So, but we try to use it for everything, and it's just, and it started out being really nice, and then they goofed it up again. So we're hoping to get it straightened out, because we try to get everything up there that should be there. We do a better job, I think, right now with the Facebook page and getting things out where you can easily find it.
I know for SPJ, I'm sorry, go ahead, Eddie. Eddie, I thought we were.
But I think they do a little bit better job of finding things on Facebook. But one thing I want to say before we move off of that, before I stop, is that one thing I hadn't mentioned that we do for our members and other people too, is we offer a grant, a mid-career grant. And it's, we started it a few years ago. And so it's about $500, up to $500. So somebody that wants to be doing something, but their organization isn't willing to fund it, they can come to us and fill out a form, or not, it's not even a form, just tell us what, give us a proposal for what they want to do. And we'll help them.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So that'll just give them the encouragement that they're not getting at their job.
That's fantastic. So there are some questions in the chat, so I want to make sure that I ask those. Jim is asking, many of the speakers have addressed reaching out to different groups of journalists. How do you convert participants in these programs to SPJ members? So Claire, can we start with you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was typing in the chat.
So he said many speakers have addressed reaching out to different groups of journalists. How do you convert participants in these programs to SPJ members?
Oh, I think just offering a variety of events. You know, our current board they've put together a nice variety of events this year. We had a picnic. We're having museum walking tours of the city for historic sites and museum tours, and I think just a variety, so you appeal to everybody's interests, and it's just the getting together part. Journalists like to get together. They like to be with each other. So the more opportunities, the more diverse opportunities you offer for that, the better. To me, that's the best advice.
Yeah. Adam?
So I think I'm very, very aggressive when it comes to recruiting members. You know, what I found is, like, anytime you talk to a journalist about SPJ, about what you're doing, ask them if they've considered joining. Like, people like to be asked to join things. Like, not everybody will, but when I'm sending people messages on LinkedIn, harassing people to try to get them to follow our social media, I generally follow up with, have you ever considered joining SPJ? And there is a large number of people who don't respond to that question. But I've had a lot of people who have. I've had journalists in New England respond and say that they're going to sign up. I had a journalist in Pakistan decide to sign up for the international community, and they're actually going to do a Zoom event with the international community. It turned out this was like a really well-known journalist. So just asking journalists if they've considered joining. You know, a lot of us work in large newsrooms, right? Like, if you're a freelancer, you might not, but if you're in a newsroom, look around. All those people in your newsroom are potential SPJ members who've just never been asked if they'd like to sign up. So just ask them, you know, and engage in a conversation. And I found that to be very, very effective. And every time you talk to somebody, get them to follow you on social media. Don't lose them. It doesn't matter if they're in your area or not. Get them to follow you.
Yeah,
Ashanti, oh, I'm sorry. I just quickly add that that's great, Adam. I'm glad you do it that way. I'm just a personal outreach, because you're more likely to join if you connect with somebody personally, or they connect with you. You're more likely to feel more comfortable to show up to one of the events if you know somebody who's going to be there, or they sent you an email. So I think that's really important. Outreach from the membership VP or whoever on your board does that.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo what Adam says. You know, I think one of the things that we always ask at the end of any event we do is, hey, join us, right?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we have not because we ask not, right? So I think sometimes it's really that simple. Hey, you like what we're doing? Join us. We would love your help. We would love to get you more involved, right? So sometimes that it can be as easy as that. Just ask. Let's see here. Another question we have, can you talk a bit about how you can, well, we just kind of covered that part. So I'm actually going to go to the second part of this question. What are your chapter's numbers over the last couple of years? How much have they increased? So why don't we start with Eddie?
I really can't do that because the not wanting to be critical, but the thing has been so messed up. We can't get a straight number. Every time we turn around, we cannot get a straight number on how many members we have right now. So we're really truly trying to wait and get a true membership deal because, you know, somebody said that they paid their dues, but their name's not on the membership list. And so we're not even sure how many members we have.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it might be the elephant in the room, but
Mhm.
here we are, right?
Yeah.
And
And I mean, and we got the news message, you know, today, I think it was, or yesterday, that, you know, things have been cleared up and things are going to be great, and we'll wait and see. So I'm not even going to guess.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Adam.
So I haven't seen our membership roster in a little bit, but I'm hopefully going to get it soon. I know John's on here tonight. So he gets a lot of emails, but hopefully I'll be able to get my membership list soon. But when I first started looking, I think maybe I was vice president at the time, but I started looking at our membership list and we were at around 50-ish members, and then we jumped to through I think our Zoom events had a lot to do with it, or at least I hope they did. But we jumped to 80 something members, and then I thought we were at 100 for a while, which I was really excited about. I was like, we crossed 100, it's great. And then when I looked at our membership list, we had 83, and I think it was just because a bunch of members, just their membership had lapsed. So I was reaching out to see if people would renew, and some would, some wouldn't. But we were, last I checked, our official number was around 83. So I'm hoping we've grown since then. But I think because our chapter is more active and we're putting more stuff out there, that's been helping us.
Yeah, I was going to echo kind of what you said, that I know with SPJ-LA, we gained a lot of members over the pandemic just because of the sheer amount of programming that we were pushing out on a regular basis. And so, you know, because our name was out there, because of the advocacy that we were doing, because of these different events, because of the award ceremony that we totally moved digital, I think people saw the benefit in what that price tag was. And they felt like, well, $20 is nothing compared to all of this programming and all of these other opportunities that I'm getting to also, you know, engage with other members of the journalism community, right? So I think, you know, in many ways, the pandemic was a blessing when it came to membership, at least for us.
Yeah.
You know, because we did have extra flexibility, like people didn't have to get in their cars and sit in LA traffic for 2 hours just to get to an event, right?
Yeah.
They could be in their PJs and just click Zoom and be like, there they are, yay, right?
Yeah.
So I think that helped tremendously with increasing our membership numbers over the pandemic.
Yeah,
Claire, did you
Zoom-
have similar? Oh, I'm sorry, Adam, go ahead.
I was going to say Zoom is something we're going to continue doing.
Yeah,
regardless, you know.
Right. Regardless of what happened, it just opens up the world of, you know, who can come to your events now, right?
Mhm.
Claire, did you see a similar kind of, you know, bump with being in the pandemic and being able to engage with members in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, I know that both my chapters, New York and New Jersey, we've been sort of you know, coping with the membership challenges, and hopefully there's resolution in sight. I know Colin is here from New York and Bob from New Jersey. I know they've been working tirelessly to make all that right, the membership numbers. I know for Deadline Club, you know, we're planning our in-person gala, and we always sell out before pandemic, 220 people at the Harvard Club. So, you know, our membership is holding steady in New York. In New Jersey, I'm just going to brag a little bit on Bob's behalf. For the New Jersey chapter, we're up to 270 members, and 162 are full SPJ members, with I think about 65 associate members. So there's been a big bump in the New Jersey membership. So congratulations to Bob.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, I am recognizing that we are running out of time. So, you know, if anybody does have any questions, I really do encourage you to put them in the chat. I'm monitoring both the chat and moderating at the same time. It's you know, when you have 2 years of teaching on Zoom, this is kind of what happens. You get really good at multitasking while being on a Zoom. So if you have any additional questions, please put them in the chat. I'm paying attention.
Cool.
Adam.
I'd just like to mention something that will hopefully help everybody with their membership or get membership, new members. So as I mentioned before, I'm chairing the membership committee, and one of the things that we created was an infographic encouraging people to sign up for SPJ and explaining all the benefits of membership just in one place. And Anna, who is the new president of the SPJ Puerto Rico chapter, she is also the vice chair of the membership committee, and she did a great job making that. Maysoon Khan is another one of our membership committees. She's also the vice president of SPJ New England, made one to try to help or encourage college professors to sponsor membership for students and postgrads. So we're going to be tweeting out, SPJ New England's going to be tweeting out the infographic, you know, explaining the benefits of SPJ soon. You should all follow SPJ New England so you can see it. And we can also send it to you as well. But hopefully that's something you can blast out on social media. You can send it reporters in your newsrooms. One of the things that I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping I can get SPJ members to go to their newsroom managers and say, can you just blast this out to everyone in your newsroom? Like, I'm going to do that to the Globe. So every reporter at the Globe will see this infographic. So we'll be sending that out pretty soon. And hopefully it'll help people.
Perfect. We have one more question in the chat. It says, when those of you send an email to new members, do you get a heads up early, or do you wait until you get notification from national headquarters? We get a dues check maybe quarterly, but that is probably too long to wait to welcome someone. So I think that's a great question. You know, if you know that maybe someone that you've reached out to may be, you know, getting both a national and a chapter or community membership, do you follow up with them? Do you kind of reach out and say, hey, just checking on you. Did you go ahead and join? We'd love to, you know, have you involved. How do you guys approach those types of things? Adam, can we start with you?
If I know somebody has signed up, I usually it's on like LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, but I'll just say welcome to SPJ. You know, and they know that I'm the president. It would be helpful if we were to get a list of new members every once in a while, but yeah, I try to, and I would totally recommend doing it. I know Rebecca sends personal emails to every new member of SPJ, that's a lot, and it's great that she does it. So I'm sure the new members appreciate that.
Yeah, Claire.
Yeah, no, Rebecca is great. She's on Twitter. She tweets to all new members. She asks for that list every month. So I know she does that. It's great to do that. Yeah, we do the best we can at Deadline Club. I mean, a lot of times, like Ginny McCabe is pointing out that a lot of the new members we already have a relationship with, or we've met them at some of our events. That happens to us at Deadline and at New Jersey too. But yeah, the presidents, Bob and Colin, would reach out, and our membership VP at Deadline Club would reach out as well. That really does, that personal touch really matters.
Eddie, what does your chapter do?
Our vice president of membership checks with national every week, or not every week, but at least once a month, if not more, to see if we have new members that we don't know about. So.
Great. I know for SPJ LA, we might get an email saying, hey, someone's probably going to join soon. And I know that, you know, I'll personally send an email, say, hey, great, you know, you want to hop on a quick call and ask any questions you might have? You know, we'd love to have you more involved. So yeah, I think that personal touch really to kind of close the deal and close the loop is so important when we're trying to get folks in the fold, especially, you know, we're volunteer organizations, right? So, you know, there has to be, people have to feel like that spending that $20, it's worth it. What am I getting out of, you know, spending this $20? What's the ROI going to be for me? And so I think that personal touch always helps. Okay, so I do want to say I appreciate everyone for joining us today. I think that this was very, very helpful. We got a lot of great information for some great, you know, chapter board members and presidents. And so I would encourage all of you, if you know anyone who missed this particular series, this first inaugural event of the series, please share the recording with them. Obviously, we will send the link out after this is all said and done. Any closing remarks from any of you? Why don't we start with Adam? Anything you want to leave with everyone as far as, you know, best practices?
Well, I just want to mention I dropped my email address in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out or has any questions, I'd be happy to talk to them. But I just reiterate what I said before. Social media is the best way to go. Get on Zoom, you know, shoot for the stars with Zoom, because you'll get you'll get incredible guests. So yeah, and stay in touch.
Eddie, final
Um,
remarks.
I'll go back to the young ones. Since I taught in college, I always am partial to the young ones. When the young ones come in, be very gracious to them. Listen to them. Take their ideas seriously. And even though you think they may not work, let them try. Don't brush it off.
And Claire, you have the last word.
Yeah, I want to thank, we had close to 30 people here tonight. Thank you so much, all of you, your volunteers. We're all volunteers. And I like to remind us all of that and say thank you. And we are the faces of SPJ. We are the people who bring new members in, and I appreciate all the efforts you make on that front. Thank you.
Well, again, I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank our panelists, Adam, Eddie, Claire, for sharing and being vulnerable and giving tips and best practices for everyone that's on here. And again, like I said, this is recorded, so you will be able to view this as many times as you'd like, right? And that being said, thank you again, and everyone have a really good evening.
Thank you, Ashanti.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.